Torrential rainfall causes mass chaos across the GTA today. Roads flooded, cars stranded, and more than 100,000 customers without power.
And then take a look at this, the DVP. Look at it. It looks more like a river than a highway. It's still closed in both directions because of the extreme flooding.
And the flooding also impacting people trying to get home by public transit. We'll take you live inside Union Station. Our extensive coverage begins right now.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thank you for joining us. Soggy, nasty, intense. There are many ways to describe today's drive. It has been a tough day for GTA residents with heavy rain causing mass chaos.
Yeah, the Don Valley Parkway, it looked more like a river than a highway today. Chopper 24 flying over the parkway near Dundas this afternoon. Take a look at this. You can see cars abandoned and submerged in the water. Right now, let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's over, or rather on the Dundas Street overpass at the DVP, just taking a look at the situation. Andrew, you said it looks like the water may be receding somewhat.
Maybe. We're seeing a little bit more of the door handles over here, Bakari, of the abandoned vehicles along the Don Valley Parkway. I've seen, pieces of debris. I've been seeing pieces of trees, branches. That looks like a tree trunk that's in the water right now. And we also just saw what looked almost like a barge or a door. No Leonardo DiCaprio or Kate Winslet on this one, but it's just all flowing down the Don River that has escaped its embankments and has literally turned the Don Valley Parkway, where of course it gets the name from the river, into another river. It's really just one riverway here. And just in terms of the vehicles that were abandoned, there's an incredible story that comes with that too. Toronto Fire is saying that they had to rescue a dozen people from their cars today after getting caught in this deluge. Here's more from Deputy Fire Chief Jim Jessup.
One of the more dramatic calls was a rescue that occurred on the Don Valley. A number of calls, cars were stranded, and our crews were able to rescue 12 occupants of those cars. They set up a rope system, were able to get them personal flotation devices, got them out of their cars, up the embankment, over a ladder, and onto the safety of the bridge at Dundas Street. So I was on scene watching that perform. The crews did an outstanding job.
There's also damaged vehicles along the entire side streets here that are essentially underwater. Garages filled with luxury vehicles at a dealership. A film crew has one of their vehicles that's been installed inside the riverway. This is a mess. It will take a long time to clean up. We're sending it back to you now.
All right, Andrew Brennan live on the overpass over the DVP for that. And Andrew, thanks for this. Next, we're going to take you live to City Hall. That is where we are joined live by Toronto's Mayor Olivia Chow. She's standing by with more on the city's flooding response. Mayor, it's good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us. Everything about this rainstorm was intense. Do you feel like the city of Toronto was unprepared?
The Toronto Storm Readiness Plan is in place, and the crew is ready. We activated it this morning, and what we saw was over 100 meters of rain that fell in pockets across Toronto. And we are, we've actively working with some of the transit folks to reopen some of the TTC station. We are also, Toronto Hydro has a good, they are restoring some of, rather than 167,000 customers without power, 109,000 are without power now, so they're slowly restoring. And this water level, this lake level, I'm not trying to compare It's slightly lower than 2017. Last time we had a major flood. What you're seeing on the screen is terrible. Is on the Don Valley Parkway with all the cars being stuck there. And is there something that we could have done better? Perhaps. We will definitely evaluate what happened. But right now, the priority is to assist everyone, especially those basement flooding. The 311 have gotten a lot of calls, and it's open 24/7, and we're asking people that that have their basement flooded to immediately call us.
Okay, Mayor Chow, along with that, we just heard from you those calls to 311 about basement floodings. We are in a cost of living crisis right now. What consideration are you giving to those people whose homes are being flooded right now because they may not be able to afford to get those repaired?
That is true. Well, call your insurance company, of course. And right now, move your valuables, of course, if it might be too late or not. Clean your eavesdrop and downspout, disconnect, and make sure they are clear of debris. But if there's a lot of flooding and the power is on, you may want to call up Toronto Hydro to make sure that that is safe. And if your folks want to have the Toronto Hydro number, it's 416-542-8000.
Mayor Chow, we're showing our viewers a live look of the DVP. This is coming to us from Chopper 24. Honestly, it's just a mess. You face questions about this. We know the expressway has flooded before. The pictures really tell the story. Why not shut it down?
Well, perhaps we're going to shut it down a bit earlier, but you know that Toronto has a congestion problem, and we don't want to shut down a major arterial road, a highway that quickly, because then people would say, why are you doing that? Could we have done it earlier? Perhaps, but the amount of rain, the speed it came was incredible. So I don't want to second guess our staff. It's up to them, but certainly we need to evaluate the situation. The one other thing, because people are now just coming home or arriving home, plan ahead, be patient. We thank you for your patience. Do look up TTC.ca and look at some of the areas that some of this station might be closed, especially Union Station, because Union Station have flooding. And we're pumping water out, but still is flooded.
And Mayor Chow, as we wrap up, what do you want to say about this on a personal level? This is your city.
I know. My house is an old house. It's flooded somewhat, not seriously. This later morning and afternoon, I understand the trauma people are experiencing, and climate change is real. We have to look at mitigation, what we can do together. There are things we can do, and we'll come up with a fairly comprehensive plan later. But right now, my worry is there's 500 traffic signals that are not working because the power is out. So we're trying to get the traffic agent there, get the police to manage those areas. So immediately, we are trying to help as much as we can, and we will also then evaluate what we can do better and how do we mitigate this kind and prevent the kind of flooding you're seeing on the screen.
Toronto's Mayor Olivia Chow, thanks for joining us here on Live at 5 on CP24. We appreciate this.
Thanks, Mayor Chow.
509, 28 degrees. Let's get a check on that evening commute. CP24's traffic specialist, Adjouen Sieyebois, has been keeping a close eye on the roads all day. What do you have for us, Adj?
I have the flooding. That's the biggest issue that is happening. And depending on the route and where you're headed, the one that's mostly impacted is the Don Valley Parkway. Here's a live look of what the DVP looks like. It looks more like the Don River than it does the DVP at this hour. Because of the flooding which happened, the majority of it between Dundas and Gerrard on the Don Valley Parkway, it remains closed. closed. The cleanup, the sopping of the water is underway. And if you're trying to make your way through on the DVP, obviously you have to use an alternative because it's been closed. Southbound lanes shut down at Bayview Bloor, where you're being forced off the highway. And I can show you the eastbound Gardner, which is closed at Jarvis. That's where you're being forced off the highway because of the flooding that does continue. No estimated time of reopening. We have been told that once the water's gone, they're still going to have to do a cleanup, and that'll be 4 hours after the cleanup. So you're looking at a long time before they reopen this stretch of highway. I will show you problems that are still with us. It's on the 410 southbound, no access to the 403 because of flooding. They just don't have a visual of it, but you can see no traffic is getting by. Then eastbound 403 on the ramp to the northbound 410. Closed because of continued flooding. And we are dealing with a collision westbound 401 in the express past the DVP. 2 left lanes are blocked. And had a peek at the lakeshore. Looks like some good news. We need some of that on a day like this. The lakeshore was closed east and westbound between BC and Strawn. It was for flooding. They did just manage to reopen it in time for rush hour. I'll send it back to you, Lena.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Well, speaking of the commute, it's been rough for transit users with flooding inside Union Station and water impacting both TTC and GO Transit service.
Yeah, right now, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan. Melissa, you've been at Union Station for most of the day. Has power been restored?
Yeah, we see that power coming back online right now. More elevators are working, but we don't feel that AC coming in. It's still sticky in here. Something else that stayed the same is that the lower levels of the York and Bay Concourse still closed off to people. They are making some progress with cleaning it up. Still water there, though, from flooding earlier in the day. And as for people waiting to get onto trains, they've got a long wait. There are delays, there are cancellations, and that's something that Antonio is dealing with. And you were so kind to stop by and wait with us, and you said, hey, I got lots of time because I'm stuck here.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's super packed, and it's just a big commotion.
Tell me about your commute. Where are you headed to? How long have you been waiting?
So I'm heading from North York, like around the Jane and Shepherd area, to go see my buddy at Rouge Hill in Scarborough. And I decided to I was going to catch the GO train, but I ended up catching the subway down to Union. And they kicked us off at St. Andrews, saying that Union was closed and all that. I didn't know what happened. And then I came here, and it was just like a big, I don't know, mess.
When you're looking at the signs, too, we've got the boards telling us when trains are coming, when they are going. How's that information being communicated with you? Do you think that you've got a good grasp on what's happening around here?
I mean, not really. Usually the screens are helpful to tell you when it's departing and stuff like that. But right now, they all just say, wait, without like a time for anybody to know. So not really.
Antonio, good luck with your trip to visit your friend tonight. Hope you get there soon. And this is something that people are dealing with. We've been talking with a lot of people around here saying they just keep staring at the boards. They're refreshing their phones, hoping to find out when they're going to be able to make their journey home because, of course, we're getting into the evening rush right now. A lot of people leaving work and unsure when they're going to be able to have dinner with their families this evening. As for what we're hearing from the overhead speaker, things like your train may be delayed, it may be canceled. Stay with us because, we are dealing with this unusual circumstance of watching these trains come and go, not as normal right now. But what we can tell you, again, is that the crowd is building here. It is warm. It feels like the AC hasn't caught up after we had those power outages here at Union Station earlier in the day. And the crowd certainly is growing. Back to you guys.
Hey, also, Melissa, any update on those campers that were trying to make their way back up to Danforth Station?
You know what? I haven't heard back if they made it there or not. That is a good question. I mean, I've certainly, as I've been making the rounds through Union Station today, been seeing a lot of the same faces of people who have just been stuck in one place.
All right, Melissa Duggan reporting live from Union Station. Melissa, thanks so much. Now, the rain and flooding has also led to big power problems in the city. Toronto Hydro issuing a widespread outage alert because of a loss of supply from Hydro One. Take a look at this map. You see all the areas with outages. Yeah, that's a lot of people impacted. The cause of that problem is believed to be flooding at a transmission station. Toronto Hydro telling CP24 just moments ago that about 105 customers are without service this hour. That is actually an improvement. It is down from more than 165,000 customers earlier. There is no estimated time for restoration right now.
Right now it's 5:14, feeling like 37 outside. This is Live at 5. And coming up, Toronto Police Chief Myron Gemke sat down with News Talk 1010's John Moore today to discuss gun violence in the city.
And we continue to follow breaking news. The DVP remains closed due to flooding. Looks more like a river tonight. Stay with us as our coverage continues.
Toronto Police Chief Myron Gemke sat down with News Talk 1010's John Moore today to talk about gun violence in the city.
Gemke specifically mentioned the rise in gun crimes involving young people. That's something we've been talking about on our program, too. Toronto police say in the first 6 months of the year, 107 young people were charged with firearm offenses. That represents a 160% increase compared with 2022.
When we think about what's happened in a young person's life where they solve a grievance with a handgun in their hand or pick up a handgun in order to make money in criminality at 14 years old. Listen, I'm a parent of now grown kids, and I cannot imagine what that would be like as a parent, and I cannot imagine, what's gone on in that young person's life to lead to that. So I don't think it's something that should be oversimplified. I think it takes a whole of system view to really understand what it's going to take to disrupt this and tamper it down and quite frankly, get these young people off this destructive path.
Have we as a city respond to neighborhoods that don't have much voice? And how do we do it in a sensitive way that is impactful, that creates change, that creates the investments to change the life directions of very young people? A month ago, we saw another 14-year-old take the lives of two adults.
That gangs are increasingly recruiting children to their ranks, and that most shootings in the city are targeted, which speaks to gang activity.
Well, a new poll commissioned by the Toronto Region Board of Trade shows the vast majority believe the GTA is in a congestion crisis. Most also agreed it's having a negative impact on our economy. 63% said traffic was creating problems for their own household, while 58% said being stuck in traffic had recently made them late. Been there, done that. The traffic headaches are even causing more than half of those surveyed to think about moving out of the area.
People talk about a crisis, there's lots of crises, but we wanted to really get the numbers. Do people really think it is as bad as we are hearing? And the answer is absolutely, and maybe even more. When 85% of respondents say it's a crisis, and literally the same amount say, and it's hurting the economy, which is rare to hear. You don't often hear people say it's hurting the economy. You hear them say it hurts me, it hurts my family, or this or that. But actually have people say, no, I think it's hurting the economy. And people who, they want a prosperous economy here. And so they feel this is one of the issues that's holding us back.
For several decades, we have not built public transit, but now we are building the Ontario lines, the Scarborough subway, all of it is happening, and that means road closure. That means more congestion. I can't wait for the Eglinton LRT, Eglinton Crosstown LRT, and I can't wait for the Finch LRT, both of them. Let's get it open. And so message to Metrolinx, get it finalized, get it open.
Yeah, so these findings are not a total surprise. A lot of people frustrated about the drive in our city. The findings are based on a survey of 1,000 residents in the Toronto area.
Right now it's 5:20, feeling like 36 outside. This is Live at 5. Several businesses in the city had to close their doors early today due to power outages related to the rainstorm. We're going to talk to one of those business owners impacted. That's coming up. More than 105,000 customers, they still do not have power. This is after today's extreme rain, which impacted businesses all over the city.
And for more on the impact, we're joined live by Alan Liu, owner of Salad King in Toronto. Thank you for joining us, Alan. It has not been an easy day for a number of businesses. What has your day looked like? What's been going on?
Well, as you can see at the back of me, the restaurant's still closed, and we don't think we'll be able to open for the rest of the day. You get a call at 11 o'clock this morning from my chef saying, oh, the restaurant's flooding. We already have implements in place. We have sump pumps. We have backflow because Queen Street businesses are a bit prone to flooding. But it was overwhelming. Like the amount of rain that came in just overwhelmed any system. At one point, I had about 8 inches of water in my basement, and we had to find a way to pump that all out. But by the time I went and bought a pump, hoping to pump the water out, power cut off. So now we're completely stuck because we cannot get the water out, we cannot clean, we cannot do anything, and we just have to sit here and wait, and we don't know when. At that point, we didn't know when the power was going to come back, so we're worried about food spoiling, we're worried about just cleaning up, and it was just a nightmare waiting for things to happen, which were completely out of our control.
Yeah, hey, Alan, I really hate to hear this, and I want to ask you about your products. How much are you going to, do you know how much you're going to have to get rid of, how much you're going to be able to save?
Well, fortunately, the power came back on at about 3 o'clock. So with restaurants, fridges do last a while if you keep them closed. So that's a bit of a blessing that nothing is going to spoil. We were able to use everything because we were able to kind of put in procedures in place. But if we had to wait until midnight or tomorrow before the power came back, we would probably have to throw out a lot of food and we wouldn't have been able to open tomorrow. But fortunately, power did come back at 3. So that's a bit of a blessing. Now we're just cleaning up from all of the flood water that got into the restaurant.
Yeah, I bet. We've been walking along Queen Street West, and a lot of the businesses have closed up shop for the day because they're out of power. They figured they might as well go home. Are customers still sort of asking if you're open, and do you think you'll reopen by tomorrow?
We think we can open by tomorrow. We had a few people come in while we were cleaning up, but it's obvious just everything around this area. Everyone's dealing with the flood. Everyone's dealing with the power. So unfortunately, we just have to say, sorry, my other location's open. Fortunately, Yonge Street still has power, but we're hoping we can open everything up tomorrow.
Okay, hey, Alan, I have to ask, what does this do to you emotionally? I know it's been tough for a lot of small businesses. Then this happens. How you feeling?
Downtown restaurants are still suffering post-COVID with everybody not coming downtown and people working from home. So we're still suffering from that. This, at this point, to be honest, it almost feels like a bit punch drunk. It's just one thing after the other. We really didn't need this, but sometimes you just have to suck it up and just keep moving forward. But it is what it is.
Yeah, Alan Liu, owner of Salad King, thanks so much for making time. Best of luck, and hopefully all goes well tomorrow. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right now it's 5:25, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Heavy rainfall causing mass chaos across the GTA today. I believe that's a live shot of the gardener. Stay with us.
Dealing with the aftermath of torrential rain, more than 100,000 customers still don't have power.
And take a look at this. The DVP looked more like a river than a highway today. It remains closed in both directions due to extreme flooding.
And the flooding's also impacting people trying to get home by public transit. We're going to take you live inside Union Station. Our extensive coverage begins right now.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
And I'm Bakari Savage. It's been a tough day for GTA residents with heavy rain causing mass chaos.
The Don Valley Parkway looked more like a river than a highway today. Chopper 24 flew over the parkway near Dundas this afternoon. These are images coming to us from the expressway, though it doesn't look like one from these shots. You can see cars abandoned and submerged in water. We got an update from city officials a little while ago.
Safety is always a concern. We have crews that are on site right now cleaning that up, vacuuming out the water, taking care of whatever those issues are. So we've been able to keep some of Union Station going. Our expectation is it'll be a bit of a rolling opening of the various parts of Union Station as the evening goes on.
My house is an old house. It's flooded somewhat, not seriously, this later morning and afternoon. I understand the trauma people are experiencing, and climate change is real. We have to look at mitigation, what we can do together. There are things we can do, and we'll come up with a fairly comprehensive plan later.
It's been pure chaos on the Don Valley Parkway today. Let's go live to CP24's Andrew Brennan, who's on an overpass over the DVP for the latest on the chaos. Is it getting any better, Andrew?
It actually is, although that's relative, Lena and Bakari. Also just wanting to tell the both of you, as our cameraman Tom goes to overlook, what you can see are the north and southbound lanes of the now closed Don Valley Parkway. And we'll talk a little bit about how bad this has been for people in the area in a second. But you can see the part of the road that is damp at the edge. There's about 200 feet that's now, as the water's receded, that you can see there's more pavement there. But we've been seeing literal full trees, trunks of trees, 20 feet long, going down the river today. And of course, the Don Valley Parkway is named after the Don River right to its left, and the Don River escaping its embankments, not just on the Don Valley Parkway side, but also on the Bayview extension. All of it is one giant, massive, for lack of a better way to describe it, swimming pool. There are several vehicles, 8 on this side, 9 actually. There's one that's been floating underneath the bridge. I think it's moved maybe about 3 or 4 feet since we got here. Still under lots of water, but getting significantly better. I'm seeing the water here has dropped by maybe about 2 feet, but it's still about 2 feet deep here. But vehicles that are further along, they are going to be underwater for a while. And in fact, these vehicles and the people actually inside them had to be rescued by firefighters earlier today. 12 people rescued from their vehicles, given life jackets, gotten over a ladder to be able to get to safety on the side of the road. Thankfully, though, there's been as many 100 incidents as there has been throughout the city today. Thankfully, the fire department, police, otherwise saying no fatalities. We heard from Deputy Fire Chief Jim Jessup earlier, just giving us an indication of how much they've had to respond to today.
We've responded to, dozens and dozens of elevator rescues, a number of fires, vehicle collisions, and certainly countless water problems as well, both from flooding up from the basement, but also flooding in from the ceiling and causing damage. So happy to report we have no report of any fatalities or serious injuries at this time.
Now, even as the waters continue to recede here, and even after they're all gone and everything's south of here down to Lake Ontario, Lena, Bakari, even with that, according to the city manager, it'll still be hours before they're able to reopen the road, at least 3 to 4 hours, they say, to clean up all of the debris if there's no damage that's been caused. Let's not forget about that. That being said, just as we wrap up and send it back inside here, just south of us, where we were able to park our cars in all of this chaos, there are 2 things happening over there. There's a luxury car dealership with dozens of vehicles in the garage that is not it's not fully enclosed, and there was feet of water, maybe 6 feet deep, that had submerged dozens of vehicles there. There's a film crew as well that has been trying to get their last shot of the day. At last check, they still weren't able to do it. One of their film trucks, one of the giant trucks that transports all the equipment, was unable to get out of the driveway, submerged under about 6 feet of water. Now, just trying to compile how much damage this could be in terms of what insurance companies will be dealing with. Bare minimum, this is millions of dollars. You're talking about dozens of vehicles that have price tags of $100,000 plus. You have all of these cars on the road, including a Range Rover that's down the street. There is a lot of damage here. A lot of cleanup will be needed. I spoke to one man, in fact, that had not only had part of his house be flooded, he also had his vehicle flooded at the dealership, and he was knocked off of his bike as well today. He's definitely not had a good day. As a lot of other people as well. I'll send it back to you both.
Okay, reporting live from the Dundas Street overpass at the DVP CP24's Andrew Brennan, thank you very much. Okay, look, we're going to need some help navigating around all of this flooding.
Just
the only
person
that can help us, I think, is CP24's traffic specialist,
Can you help us?
Are you putting that all on me?
Yes.
Can you help us get home tonight?
You are it.
I'm it.
Help us.
I'm going to do my best. If you're making your way out, Chopper 24 is up over the scene of the Don Valley Parkway through Dundas and Gerrard, where it is flooded the most. So if you are trying trying to get through here and you're wondering why the highway is closed, that is the reason. Not raining right now, but a lot of rain came down in the morning and early afternoon, about 40 millimeters. So to be exact, so if you're trying to make your way through, what I can tell you is the DVP is going to be closed for the next several hours southbound from Bayview Bloor. And if you're coming on the northbound side, it's actually closed from the Gardner eastbound from Jarvis. So not accessible at all because of this flooding. It is starting to recede a bit, but there's still a lot of vehicles that are stuck in those floodwaters. And the Bayview extension, which does run parallel, usually a good alternative, not the case this afternoon. It is flooded and also closed between Pottery Road all the way down to Queen. If you are looking for a good alternative, Broadview's a good one. So is Parliament. They run parallel as well, and they'll get you by. If any lanes reopen, we'll keep you in the know. I will show you my other cameras. If you're traveling and making your way towards the 410, no access to the 403. It's been closed, and that is for a flooding which is underway. And I'll leave you some good news. At least the lakeshore now is accessible outside of camera view. It was closed for a better part of the morning and afternoon because of flooding, but managed to sop up the water, so since been reopened between BC and Strawn. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, really serious situation. Thank you very much, Aj.
You're welcome.
Well, it's been a rough commute home for transit users because of flooding inside of Union Station. Water impacting both TTC and GO Transit service.
Yeah, Union Station was flooded today. For more on that situation, let's go live to CP24's Melissa Duggan. A lot of people just try to get home now. What's the latest?
Well, the message that's being broadcast right now at this very moment is that due to ongoing weather conditions affecting tracks across GO Transit's entire network, riders can expect delays, modifications, and cancellations this evening. Here's what commuters are telling us.
Delayed, and further delayed. So I was not expecting GO to be this. But yeah, what else can we do? That's the only way to commute to home.
A lot of delays. My train's already been delayed right now. So, it's a little frustrating, but it's kind of a freak day. So I guess these things happen.
It's getting scary. How am I going to go home and come back to it the next day? Because it's a far commute and probably I'll get home within 2 hours. But now that the train has been canceled, I'm not sure if there'll be another one in the next round, or I need to Uber myself home or find alternative means of getting back home.
We do have extra staff, as I mentioned. We also have they're called a network operations center, and their entire job really is to watch what's happening at each of our stations, to make sure that staff are being placed in the right places, and just to monitor the situation. So we're monitoring it very closely, minute by minute, and you'll see staff available. But again, when we see those kinds of crowds, we have to make sure that we take the time to travel, that we have patience, and again, just checking schedules in advance before traveling.
Pumps that we do have in place weren't designed to deal with this quantity of water in this amount of time. These are unique storms, or so we thought. So we really are doing work to upgrade. But again, that wasn't really related to what happened today. We did have a couple of stations like Pape and Lawrence where we had some flooding issues there. But again, they've been dealt with. So look, we're all learning from this. We the city has infrastructure challenges. We have infrastructure challenges. I think it behooves all of us to learn from these.
And we've got to look at some of that flooding over tracks that's causing some of those headaches this evening. As for the water situation inside Union Station right now, it is slowly being cleaned up. We're on the upper level of your concourse, but below that area is still blocked off as the water is being mopped up. So water affecting commuters here at Union Station in a variety of ways today. Lena and Bakari.
All right, Melissa Duggan reporting live from Union tonight. Thanks so much, Melissa. It's 5:41, 28 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, a milestone in the Ontario line construction. Stay with us.
And we continue to follow breaking news. The sun's out now, but Toronto is still dealing with the remnants of a major storm. It's a painful commute home, and the DVP still closed due to flooding. As Andrew Brennan put it, looks more like a swimming pool. Stay with us. Well, ground has been broken on the future Ontario Line's Pape station.
Yeah, this is a rendering of what the station is expected to look like. The Ontario Line will have 15 new stations and run for nearly 16 kilometers from Exhibition Place to the Eglinton LRT at Dunn Mills Road.
The new station will serve tens of thousands of commuters every day, with more than 9,000 transfers during the morning rush hour. as well as connections to TTC bus routes from Don Mills, Pape, and Thorncliffe Park. This critical interchange for commuters will cut travel times more than half and help reduce gridlock for drivers across the city, including reducing crowding on Line 1, Yonge University by 15%, and Line 2, Bloor-Danforth by over 20% during rush hour.
These transit-oriented communities will create more housing, jobs, retail, and commercial spaces, as well as community amenities like parks and public spaces around transit stations. At the future Pape station, our proposed transit-oriented community would create more than 400 new housing units, including affordable housing options, and more units that are 2 to 3 bedrooms, which will be suitable for families and larger households. It would also recognize Danforth Avenue's role as one of the busiest commercial thoroughfares in Toronto by including retail and office space for businesses.
And the province says the Ontario line is expected to be completed in 2031.
Well, Public Health has confirmed the presence of mosquitoes with West Nile virus in Toronto. The batch of mosquitoes were caught via traps that are tested once a week during warmer months. Public Health says the risk of getting infected with the virus in Toronto is currently low, but still advises residents to take precautions to avoid bites. Those include wearing light-colored clothing, long pants, long-sleeve shirts when outdoors, as well as applying insect repellent.
Well, it's 5:45, 28 degrees, feeling like 36 outside. This is Live at 5. And coming up, the latest on day 2 of the Republican National Convention. Here's a live look at Milwaukee. It's day 2 of the Republican National Convention happening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
That's right. Donald Trump was officially named as the Republican presidential nominee yesterday and selected J.D. Vance as his running mate. Trump was in attendance, making his first appearance since being shot in the ear during an assassination attempt Saturday. The former U.S. president seen wearing a bandage on his right ear as he recovers from the shooting. Waving to supporters, as you can see, today's convention expected to focus on immigration and border security. CTV's political commentator Scott Reed spoke to us about whether the attempt on Trump's life will soften the rhetoric in the race for the White House.
It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think you're going to see this kind of rhetorical detente last very long. It's not going to be something that the Republicans are going to want to stick to. And frankly, the Democrats, they can't unilaterally disarm. And so it's going to be very interesting to watch. I will say this. I think that Trump surviving the assassination's bullet may nevertheless spell the end for Biden. I don't know that Biden can survive the assassination attempt on Trump just because it elevates him so much and makes a strong campaign even stronger for the Republicans.
And U.S. President Joe Biden returns to the campaign trail today for the first time since the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. He's going to speak at the NAACP convention in Las Vegas to showcase his administration's support for black voters. He'll also participate in an interview with BET. And the events come as Democrats have been dealing with a crisis of confidence after Biden's poor performance in last month's debate.
5:50, 28 degrees. This is Live at 5. We continue to follow breaking news. The DVP, it's still shut down because of major flooding. Images coming to us from Chopper 24. We're going to talk to a driver who was stuck on the parkway. That's next.
I'm taking another look at our top story. The DVP is still closed in both directions due to the flooding.
Yeah, it has not been a fun day for drivers on the DVP. And for more on that angle, we're joined live by Stuart McGinn, a morning anchor at News Talk 1010, who was stuck on the DVP earlier today. Thank you for joining us. You were stranded for hours. Where were you? What happened?
Yeah, just heading home from the morning show today, and it quickly became a drive that you knew was going to be much longer. I think of the irony back to this morning. The top story for us on the air was talking about traffic reaching a crisis point in Toronto. This is not what I had in mind when I got on the road today to head home after work, but I was heading southbound down the DVP, and I think I just got caught in sort of maybe worst case scenario, aside from my car actually getting stuck, because there was a point where the flooding, as you can see on the images there, started pouring over the river, pouring onto the DVP. They, at one point, started forcing drivers off of the DVP, I believe, onto Bayview Bloor. But I was south of there, sort of caught in the middle. So I ended up just in that piece of highway between the flooded water here and Bayview Bloor, waiting. And what eventually happened, I think, after waiting over an hour, was police were coming down and telling people, all right, reverse back out, and you're going to head north up the southbound lanes of the DVP and take an exit off so you can take city streets to get where you're going. So it was turned into a pretty long commute. But, at the end of the day, thankful that I didn't end up having my car stuck in the water like that, and everything ended up working out okay.
Huh.
Hey, Stuart, how were you getting information about what was going on, when to turn around? And then, I don't know if you have an EV or a gas-powered car, did you worry about losing, fuel or battery before you could make it?
I was close. Like, I had a little over 100 kilometers left in the tank, and I was planning on filling up on my way home. And I actually, once I finally got to a gas station, I couldn't even fill up because the power was out. Such is the day that it was, right? But was a little bit worried, so I sat there with the car off for a little bit, just waiting. And the irony of that as well was it turned out to be a pretty nice hour or so that I was stuck on the DVP. The sun was shining, the rain stopped. But to answer your question about, the messaging, and everybody was just kind of waiting. A lot of people getting out of their cars. I saw at one point somebody with opening the back of their truck and just offering water bottles to people who were sort of stranded there waiting, and even some people walking up the northbound lanes of the DVP, not quite sure where they came from, but people were just kind of aimlessly, wondering where they're going to go next and trying to make sense of everything that was happening to them in that moment. So it was definitely a bit of confusion for a little bit, but you could tell that progress was being made. Some drivers were trying to sneak up before the police actually came down and told us that's, what everyone was going to be doing. But mostly things were just kept at a standstill for a while. I think while things tried to get figured out, I did have my map on and had it on because, heading home, I knew the weather was pretty bad, but I figured I might still have a shot because when I had left, there was no word yet of flooding on the DVP, certainly no word of the closures that we saw that early or late in the morning and that have lasted until now. So the timing, unfortunately, just didn't work out with me chancing it that way. But thankfully, I got home. It just took about 3 hours to get downtown, so it wasn't the best commute. 3
hours, my goodness.
3 hours later.
That sounds so frustrating. So glad you're home safe tonight. Stuart McGinn, Morning Anchor at News Talk 1010. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, guys.
And let's take a look at some of the scenes around our city today. Just recapping for you. Some vehicles, they were stranded by flooding underneath the train tracks on Parkside Drive. This is near the Gardner. One driver can be seen gathering their belongings before sitting on the roof of their car and waiting out the storm.
I was driving and the car just stuck because it's like so much water. It's so deep.
What's going through your mind at that point?
I don't know. I'm nervous. I'm going to be in my work. I'm getting late. I don't know what to do.
Okay, so this is what it looked like on the lakeshore near Ontario Place earlier today before it was closed due to flooding. And then in the south end, a driver got stranded on Simcoe Street near front. Water levels in the area, they were nearly waist high.
And a cab also stranded in the same area. Water was up to the vehicle's doors. The driver and another person had to get out and leave the car behind.
I tried to go through. I don't know water is too deep, right? When I reach over there halfway, the water coming into my car and my car is filled off the water and car is no move. After we get out, come over here.
So we asked you, our viewers, to send us photos and videos of flooding near you, and you guys really delivered. This was taken at York and Harbor Streets earlier this afternoon. Not a fun drive.
And the pedestrian tunnel to Billy Bishop Airport, that's closed because of flooding from the rain. Passengers and staff, they're being redirected to a ferry for access to the airport. Several flights have been impacted. Those flying are advised to confirm their flight status ahead of time. Well, a nursing home in Mississauga has flooded as a result of today's heavy rain. The seniors' home, it's located in the area of Eglinton Avenue East and Tompkin Road. The flooding is believed to have been caused from an overflowed creek beside the home. And paramedics are on scene to coordinate patient care, and the building inspector has been notified.
Next, we'll take you to Mississauga, where stunning images show a submerged street. Mississauga Fire says about 50 cars became stranded on Queen Frederica Drive, and they're currently making sure nobody is inside them. Fire crews are responding to a number of rescues throughout the city, so lots of chaos all around.
It's 5:59, 28 degrees. This is Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
The forecast calling for some pop-up thunderstorm activity this evening. We're keeping a close eye on that. Keep it right here for the latest on the soggy weather. Thank you for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.